speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Now we commence the part 2 of our series on litigation in times of Corona. We have with us today Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He was with us in part 1. He has been kind enough to allot us time for one more episode. I have with me Mr. Rajiv Nayyar. He's been kind enough to come again on the show for part 2. I have with me Mr. Karanjawala. He has been kind enough to share his time with us for the part 2 of litigation in times of Corona. And we will begin this part 2, and we want to now discuss the flip side of Corona, the impact on the business of law, litigation, law firms. There is a lot of news. Promoters have changed their attitudes, people who doing commercial cases. How has this been? So for that, I will read out a comment which senior advocate Harish Salve made recently. I won't read the whole comment, but 2 lines from the comment which hit very hard was, never in my life have I experienced clients telling me to do that, do you mind cutting your fees? It's happening for the first time with me, Mr. Salve said. Normally I would throw a tantrum, but now I say for sure I understand. So has these been an experience for all, including law firms? And he also said that people don't have an appetite for litigation. I may personally not agree, because India is a highly litigating society. People still don't have mediation as the top of their mind. So I would want to, we'll start with Mr. Karanjawala here. That, is there an attitude change here?
Well, let me be frank. Unfortunately, I've never been in the position of Harish Salve, where never in my life have people asked me to reduce my fees. It's something that our firm has to face on a day-to-day basis, because that's how the solicitor's life is, and that's how firms are. I mean, clients are forever asking you to reduce their fees. I mean, it's almost as if it's part of an sort of inbuilt vocabulary of theirs. So we've always been, as a firm, used to people wanting a better deal, and there's no harm. You're dealing directly with a client. Lawyers, by no stretch of imagination, are charging less. All of us here on the show who are lawyers are earning way beyond what we ever expected to earn when we began our careers. So for a client to ask you to reduce your fee is something that at least I don't find surprising. In fact, years ago, our firm had evolved a different kind of way of tackling it. Sometimes what we did was, when the client had a lot of litigation, we just sort of worked out a monthly retainer system with him. So we charge him a monthly retainer, and any amount of work that he sends to us, we do within that retainer. So for us to have clients asking us to reduce our fee is something we've always dealt with. Has there been an incremental amount of asking for reduction? Yes, I think there has. And that is because the pandemic has, more than even economically affecting people, has psychologically affected them. You know, if I have a lot of friends in the industrial world of India, and when you talk to them, you suddenly find that generally the talk was all gloom and doom. You know, there were many Zoom conferences when a whole lot of people were there, and we were just chit-chatting away. And the general talk was always talking down the market, doom and gloom, you know, oh my God, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. So in a situation like that, when the head of the industry feels, or the head of the company feels that he's going to see bad times, the first person he's going to ask is or among the first people he's going to ask is his law officer, and say, you better bring your budget down. And that impact is going to be felt by us, because the soft target is always the firm, because, you know, we're less likely to argue. Also, one has to remember that people like Manu, people like Rajiv, they have a limited amount of time they can spare in a day. And there are just so many cases that they can do in a day. I mean, on a good day, running from court to court, they could have done in double figures. But the fact still remains, and in COVID times also, because of the way the whole process of speaking on video is dealt with, and because you can't really flit away from one video scene to another video scene too quickly without the judge noticing that there's a gap on a particular screen, their ability to take numerically the same amount of cases that they could take earlier is not the same. So therefore, they probably, all of them have already, the top counsels at least, have reached in any case a saturation point. They may be getting more cases than they can handle, so their desire to reduce their fees is much less. A firm, frankly, almost never says no to work. I don't know any firm who says, look, boss, for the next 3 months, we are too busy, boss. Don't come with any new case. We have to take whatever comes our way. So obviously, it's much more prone to bargaining as far as we are concerned. Okay. Having said that, I've noticed one thing, which I said the second thing I wanted to allude to. And I think this is the appropriate time to do it. I've noticed that and I've not really been able to understand why. And frankly, I have suddenly found in these times, and maybe it's because I'm paying more attention or what, I can't make out. I have suddenly found in these times that people are coming to the firm who never came to the firm earlier. I won't take the names of the clients, but they're varied, they're important, and they come from different avenues. Clients who never looked in our direction have suddenly started looking in our direction. Clients walking through the door for the first time and engaging us. So it's a question I kept on asking myself, but why is that happening? Why is that happening? I mean, you should in fact be crying and you're not. Why? And the only answer I can give is that sometimes in moments of stress, when the law officer is faced, they go towards what they feel are safer hands. So I feel that the firms are certainly better circumstanced in these times than the individual lawyers. The individual lawyers, I think, are having a harder time than we, the big firms, are. That's my sense of things.
That's a frank admission by Mr. Karanjawala, where he gave both the flip side and the benefits of litigation in times of Corona. Now, gold is costing the highest that we ever paid for gold. It's more than about 51,600 rupees. But so there are Corona times, but gold is expensive. So if I want Dr. Singhvi, be it Corona or no, I have to pay for gold. Otherwise, I'll go for silver. So if you want gold, you have to pay high. So if you want Dr. Singhvi...
Tarun, you can't afford him. Tarun, you can't afford him.
Nobody can afford him.
So Dr. Singhvi, I would want to know, from your perspective, how has this worked?
See, let us be very clear. First of all, a general point. This perception that Corona has worked better for the elites is a wrong perception. There is a perception of virtual hearing being elitist. There's a perception of Corona favoring the elites. I don't think Corona is respecter of no persons. Corona is respecter of no status. Number two, general point, there is a cut across the board. As I said, whether you are the very top or lower categories of the very top in quantum. Number three, there is a cut across the board in your earnings. All of us are very good high income tax payers, but all our income tax returns will reflect that there will be a diminution. It is a significant diminution. It is not a small diminution. I can very frankly say, and I think a lot of other people will share their experience. Why will not there be? If there is a 23% contraction in one quarter in the GDP, and the projections for 12 months is 10% negative in the GDP, I don't think it's at all surprising to make candid admissions. So the whole thing is contracting. You are not an island. It will apply sectorally across sectors. It will be the same, I would imagine, for the top doctors. It will be the same for engineers, architects. This is a difficult time and people are doing the essential, necessary bare minimum. That's the general point to be understood. And I have no hesitation in saying that all lawyers of all kinds. Now, obviously, if you are at the bottom of the heap, it hurts you much more. Obviously, our safety net is higher, so we don't suffer that much. Secondly, I think it is important that, I don't think it's fair to say that nobody ever asked for discounts, but in normal times, the firms always, because knowing the client's profile, knowing the stakes in the case, always ask for adjustment. And that's the normal give and take. The only difference is that it is more done with the firms on a friendly basis in a minor way. Today, that is certainly higher. And today, many times the client in the conference himself tells in front of the firm person that, look, sir, you know what is happening to my industry, you know what is happening. And people accommodate. So that is the other reason for the contraction. I think everybody, even the officially notified fees of the top counsel, would have seen a decline, certainly. So I think it's nothing surprising. I think we have to also realize that the access is now getting opened for a new class of persons. This virtual hearing has another good advantage, to some extent a disadvantage in a minor way, but mostly an advantage. Access is changing. Access through virtual hearing is changing for the distant, for the far off. And in the Supreme Court, as I already said in your last episode, it's a very big thing that people can save money on travel, not come here and participate. Access is a very important part of justice, and I think that's a big virtue of virtual hearing.
So one point I would like to add, I mean, getting Dr. Singhvi to fly down to Bombay or Calcutta, then hotel fees, transit, chartered aircraft, at least the client saves on all of that.
So let's be very straight. The client says, sir, forget the hotel, forget the aircraft. The client's simple argument is that you are not going outstation at all.
That's right. So you can't charge outstation fee.
Let us say when you talk of the 3-day, and I have physically done the 3-in-1.
Yes.
The 3-in-1 may be outstation fees. The outstation fee, inverted comma, is redefined for everyone. There is no outstation fee in the old sense.
Yeah,
Now you are doing a slightly higher version of the in-station fee.
Yes.
Absolutely.
On the basis that you are reaching out through electronics. That's about it. And I think the client that you tell you is far smarter than all of us put together. A client spends 100 rupees when he finds that the benefit to him is at least 1,000, if not 10,000. He's not a fool. So he understands all this.
So one good thing about Dr. Singhvi is his frank admission. He's very candid when he speaks, which is one quality I've always liked about him, and which is what my viewers also appreciate when they see his shows. I'll go to Mr. Nayyar. Sir, I want to know from you, when somebody goes to Mr. Nayyar, he has in his mind that he's getting the top counsel that he can get in Delhi High Court. And how has the Delhi High Court practice taken litigation in times of Corona? Is discounting prevalent, or are the client's cash flows are affected? So is that affecting Delhi High Court?
Oh, Tarun, actually, I want to disagree a bit with both Abhishek and Ryan, in the sense that asking for reduction of fees by clients is not only a Corona effect. This has been going on for times immemorial. Because, you know, in Delhi High Court, for instance, by the time you have, unlike the Supreme Court practice of special leave petition, which is over in 1 or 2, in Delhi High Court, of course, in every High Court, you know, cases are on a rolling basis. So by the time the client realizes instead of 1 or 2 appearances he had projected, he's down to about 5. So then when he hasn't paid for 5 hearings, then he'll come to you and say, would it not be possible to just charge for 4? You know, that on that particular day just went on for 5 minutes. So the industry or the MNCs, etc., who are not unknown that they have been asking for reduction even in the past. But now also, we've also had a great battle even in pre-corona to get our fees. I mean, you know, there are huge outstandings. I'm sure Abhishek is far more meticulous in chasing his outstandings. I'm far worse than that. But, but I find that even in pre-corona, you used to have huge outstandings. But, you know, you could chase people. Now you feel guilty in chasing people for money. That's one impact of corona, because, you know, you can't chase people with the same frequency as you would have chased in the past. And I have had huge bad debts. I'm sure Abhishek must have had. Because, you know, if a client's case is over, then how do you get him? And the law firm will also hold its hand up and say, sorry, the client has left me also. So, you know, how much can you chase and for how long will you chase? So,
and that's a very genuine problem that the law firms have always had. Because you see, frankly, you know, it's no secret that sort of a top counsel charges about 7 times or 6 to 7 times what the law firms charge, or even more, maybe 10 or 12 times what the law firm charges. So, you know, very often the whole question was that I briefed a top counsel on 3 separate occasions. I have earned about 10% of his fee, most of which hasn't come, and suddenly I'm saddled with the responsibility of dealing with a client who's run away. I mean, you know, and these numbers in recent times have become so huge that, I mean, a lot of, I remember when some of the counsels first said, okay, look, unless it's a well-known client, I want the fees in advance. I was one of the happiest because I said, at least it reduces my own responsibility. I tell the client,
now you can't ask fees in advance. You'll be lucky if you get your fees after it. I mean, you'll have to have a number of appearances. But the other aspect is that in the Delhi High Court, for instance, I mean, I'm finding, you know, in the past, you could have had lots of repeat appearances. in the sense of 5-minute appearance, 2-minute appearance. Now the client is only using you in effective appearances. So
Yes.
obviously the number has also come because he's getting cost conscious.
I concur with Mr. Nair because one of my, somebody was known to me, he suggested a counsel who was not there fairly up, but a well-to-do counsel, and the client said, I want an in-house arguing counsel. He
Yeah.
would have never in normal course times ever engaged the in-house counsel of that law firm. It was very
Correct.
surprising to me that I could hear such a thing, but it was, somebody mentioned it to me recently.
Consciousness and awareness has become much more. Now, forget the client, but even when advocates engage us, there is a 5 minutes spent in the beginning saying, what is your fee? Could it not be this much? And I will revert to you. This revert to you will take some time because he has to meticulously check. And even a few lakh rupees is a very major issue. It might sound marginal in the pre-corona time.
Yeah.
It's a very major issue. And I think that is a consciousness and awareness which people have because of the downturn of everybody's economic activity.
So-
And if you start talking of the bugbear of arrears, I think it's a nightmare for many counsel. So I hate to talk about it. Our arrears sheet is just a kind of a nightmare reminding sheet which many of us forget. It goes into oblivion every time. From category 1 and category 2, it goes into bad debts. And those are gigantically troublesome figures and they are bad, but you just live with it.
Hence it
And
is
just to add, Tarun, you are saying the impact. I mean, we have, as Abhishek said, we have a safety net, so that's good. But I am myself estimating that my own revenue this year will be down to my 2011-12 figure.
That is going to be true for
That's the kind of impact. So, if this is the kind of impact Abhishek is saying, the impact I am having, I'm sure Ryan will also have a similar impact. Then by the time it percolates down to the thing, obviously everybody will take a hit and a substantial hit.
I found speaking for ourselves that we were at about throughout the pandemic. Let's say that the pandemic really got felt by us in April, May, June. So April, May, June, we were somewhere at 45 to 50% of what we normally earn. Now, in the month of August, I've seen when we look at the month of August that we're up to about, because obviously being in charge of the firm, numbers are the first thing I look at because that's how the payouts have to happen. So in the month of August, we find now we're at 60% of where we are.
That's a fair question.
I find that we've been pretty fortunate. As I told you earlier, it's God's blessing that, somehow clients who normally never come in our way have suddenly just started coming. And it's, so that's where we find ourselves.
Mr. Karanjawala, before I move ahead, I think Dr. Singhvi has done one good thing that he's kept his purse strings open during these times also. He instituted a 2 crore scholarship at the University of Oxford, which also goes on in 2020.
Cambridge.
At Cambridge. And I correct myself, at the Cambridge University, which is indeed a good thing in these times. I think needy students, somebody who really need that money, are being helped. And that's a good gesture that you did. Everybody appreciates it. I'll go across to Mr. Karanjawala at this point. And I want to understand from you, sir, this very important thing, that what impact that it has had on fees. Because of course, companies can't pay salaries because they have such a cash flow program in many leading corporates. That is the news we get. So of course, companies don't have money. But what if they get into a habit of paying less? If they get into a habit of paying less, then even if times go better, they're going to get into a habit of discounting. So, Mr. Karanjawala.
So the answer to that is this. The answer is very simple. Fortunately for us, at least for the last 20 to 25 years, successful lawyers have always been able to charge way beyond what the market ever dreamt.
Yes.
I don't think any of us, I remember when Mukul and I used to sit in the coffee house at the Oberoi in Bombay when we were still studying. Sort of the amount we conjured up as the kind of fees we'd earn in the years to come is a minuscule aspect of how much we actually, all of us, earned. So, in a sense, I don't think the lawyers can have too much of a sob story, especially those who are fortunate enough to have done well. The people at the lower levels are obviously finding things difficult. But most of us are frankly earning a fair amount of money. What frankly, some of my partners charge for an hourly rate of conference is what my dad used to earn in the whole month. It was many years ago, of course, but nevertheless, you've got the sense of what we are saying. So, I mean, beyond a point, I don't think lawyers can just sit down and say, meh, 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 meh. I mean, come on. I was joking the other day, and I was talking to this fellow. What is his name? This guy who used to be in MGFMR. What's his name? Shravan Gupta. This is last year in London. And I told him, I said, Dekh, yaad rakhna. Jorbagh, Golf Links, and Sundarnagar will all become lawyers' colonies. And we're going to call it Niti Bagh 2. So he started laughing, and then he actually rattled off. He said the last 13 sales of houses in those 3 colonies have been those of lawyers. So
And
frankly,
11 of
the,
them Abhishek.
So let's face it.
Present resident of Shibag. Say the present resident.
But I haven't got one, so I don't need to worry. But let's face it. So on a serious note, law certainly is at certain levels a overpaid profession. There's no doubt about it.
I would concur
But
because
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong for this reason. That today, with the Supreme Court penetrating as far and deep as it does, with 25% of anything you read in the newspaper having something to do with something that is in court, there is no reason why, when a particular industry actually affects people's livelihoods so much, why the lawyers should not be well paid at the very top. Why not? Because if you're going to pay an investment banker 20 and 30 crores by way of a fee, only because you put 2 people together, then why should the lawyer, who's put in a fair amount of work in order to achieve a particular end result for you, also not charge you commensurate? This is what happens when countries liberalize, and this is what happens when people do, when industry does well. Today, a lot of, I don't want to take the name of a particular client, but there's a particular client of mine, it's a very large steel industry. Frankly, if I were to sort of, I shouldn't say this, but frankly, if we hadn't won the number of matters that we had won for them, they would have been in serious jeopardy.
yes.
So what happens in court today does affect industry and affects it very adversely and hard. That is why they're willing to pay the kind of fees that lawyers are willing to charge.
That's a
It's
fair
not something that, Hello?
I'll get in Dr. Singhvi at this point. This habit of discounting, would you like to make a comment on that?
See, I must temper it with this, that we can never forget that, like in every other sector, India is in the legal sector also many Indias in one.
Yes.
What Ryan has talked about is absolutely right, but this is a very, very small island. This percentile is
True.
so you cannot forget the pain and the agony of even the class, just 2 classes below this class. We are talking now of a different India. There is then a different India, and then you go further down, and there is genuine pain and hardship. But that pain and hardship, in relative terms, that disparity has always been there. The disparity is far greater in India than in other countries, but that is a given. That is something you have to understand. And I don't think that has changed that much because of COVID, except at the very lower levels where there is a genuine increase because of COVID. Secondly, I think for the employees' part, firms like Ryan have a different thing to handle because they have large number of employees and a large number of advocates. And they would have to, manage that during difficult times. For litigators, senior counsel, I think it's important to send the message, which all of us, as far as I know, have sent, that for 6 months, for example, I did most of my work, at least for 4 months, on my own, with assistance, no doubt, of a remote kind from juniors, but not a physical contact or a proximity. But you cannot even suggest that you will, for the few juniors counsel have nowhere near the number of people you have in law firms, to suggest a cut or a sacking or an exit or an eviction is something which no sensible person should do in human relations, because these are all litigators. We are in the same community. There is a relationship built. And unless there are really genuine dire straits, I think you have to simply manage. So you keep paying them, and they may not be doing much work at all. As a matter of fact, for the first few months during COVID, we were doing everything ourselves. There was nothing much for them to do because you had to handle everything yourself. You were so scared in the early lockdown. In fact, now when the numbers are rising, you are having at least 1 or 2 juniors sitting with you when you're doing the hearing. Otherwise, in the earlier days, you were not doing that at all.
That's a
So
fair point and a well taken point from Dr. CVE. Mr. Nair, how would you see this going? Do you think this habit of discounting may well continue because the economy is going to be in tough times, right? The looks of it. The coming year is also going to be very tough.
You know, I want to say two things on this. One, Ryan is right that the kind of fees, actually, the fees that we are charging is not commensurate with the kind of situation. It's far higher than normally we would charge over the years. I'm saying talking about pre-COVID. So we have to actually thank Dr. Manmohan Singh for that, because post the Manmohan Singh era, the legal fees also jumped because everything opened up and legal fee also jumped. So it may not be a bad thing for it to be leveled a bit. I frankly say, I mean, of course, I'm a great beneficiary of this system, but I think it's not a bad thing if it is a level down a bit, because, you know, I sometimes wonder in the evening that actually what I'm charging much more than actually I should be entitled to. I mean, you are making a brief appearance for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or you're making an outstation appearance. I mean, the kind of fees that we are actually, the councils are charging is not commensurate with the kind of time and effort. Look at doctors, look at the other walks of life. You know, our surgeon, he's into, I mean, doing a complicated surgery for 8 to 10 hours. What is he paid? Or a visit to our dentist. I mean, what is he paid? So in that.
But Rajiv, I just want to say one thing, just in your favor and in Manu's favor. The reason why you're able to charge is because the effect of the service that you give, it may not be a lot in terms of time, but the impact that you have on your client in terms of if you succeed, the kind of benefits that he gets is, as Manu rightly pointed out, it is 100 to 200 times or 300 or 500 or 1,000 times what your fees are. Nobody otherwise is going to pay fees unless the stakes are really, really high of the kind of fees that you people charge.
You're right. You are right. No, you are right. But I'm talking about fees of lawyers as a whole vis-a-vis other professions. It's on much on a, you know, what would an architect get at the end of a 3-year-old?
I have a caveat here. On an average, every surgeon makes much more money than every lawyer. So they have a benefit there.
Yeah, there's a lesser disparity. Disparity within the professions is lesser. That is an interesting, important point. The disparity is a lot more in the legal profession.
Which means you take a much greater risk being a lawyer, because the odds of you being successful are so rare that, I mean, this is a panel where everybody is at the top of their professions, but an average lawyer is, in a sense, earns far lesser than the average dentist, surgeon, or even your general physician.
But that's not the perception, Tarun, because if you, across the board, if you say you're a lawyer, people say, oh, you know, all the successful people are lawyers. So that's not...
They exercise disproportionate weight in society, there's no doubt. But, you know, in economics, we have Gini coefficient, which measures disparity, inequality. So I think intra-profession, if you go from the Mufassil, Tehsil lawyer to the district lawyer to the state lawyer, there is that far greater disparity that may not be so much in the medical or the other professions. That Gini coefficient definitely is bad for lawyers. But yes, in the urban areas and the fully urban areas, lawyers also exercise a much bigger impact on society, which is why the profile, as Rajiv says, is different.
And it's much easier to become a lawyer than becoming an engineer.
Oh, any day.
So
you're a doctor, my God.
And you would find that every lawyer is able to survive. I mean, it's not as if, you know, any lawyer is actually starving. So
he's not in the cities.
No,
he's not in the cities.
One of the great changes in the profession since when I joined, in fact, 2 or 3 of them. One is that from being a refuge of last resort, law has become
it's a first resort. It's a first resort.
From last resort is a remarkable change. And number 2, people with established vocations of their fathers, mothers, and forefathers are still leaving them and going to law. The top doctors' children are becoming lawyers. Top architect is becoming lawyer. Even some industrial houses people, I was astonished. Somebody got his industrialist, got his son. He said, "Ke inko to aapke profession ka shauk hai, main industry kaun sambhalega?" So this is a trend. Third, of course, is that except the very top, women are doing well across the board at all levels. This was not so in the 80s and the 70s to the same extent. So these are three very interesting and positive and very hard.
We have to thank these law institutes like Bangalore, Calcutta, etc. They have actually revolutionized this process of good people becoming law.
On this good note, I think we're completely out of time. I would like to thank Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi for sparing his time and giving his 1 hour. If he bills us, I think I'll take a lifetime.
The channel may have to close down.
Then Mr. Nair, for him also is unaffordable, at least for us, unless he agrees for pro bono. Mr. Karanjawala, he's been ever so kind, and he's getting his time is tough, but he's granted his 1 hour to us, and I would like to be thanking him for this. So thanks all of you, and we'll end this episode of Legally Speaking with Tarun Nange on the litigation in times of Corona. Very soon we'll come back to discuss the Parliamentary Standing Committee report on e-courts, and I expect and request that all three of you will be kind enough to join us on that. Thank you so very much for giving your time to us. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.